I betrayed my brother to save myself, but did I really survive that day? The luxury apartment I live in now is spacious, cold, and utterly silent, a perfect metaphor for the life I led. The air is thinner up here, and the only sound I ever hear is the endless echo of the choice I made. I'm Ethan, 35, and I am the sole surviving partner of a massive corporate scandal, a man who saved his own skin by throwing the only family I had left to the wolves. I betrayed my brother, Lucas, 33, to save myself, but the terrible irony is that I died the day he went to prison. The weight of shared ambition. Lucas and I were inseparable growing up, bound by that fierce, unspoken loyalty that only brothers who have known hardship share. We were complementary. Lucas was the dreamer, the charismatic, chaotic force who could sell ice to an Inuit. He was the visionary behind Synergy Dynamics, the tech company we co-founded. I was the opposite, the meticulous, rigid engineer, the one who handled the logistics, the spreadsheets, and the crucial, often unforgiving banking relationships. He handled the passion, I handled the procedure. We built Synergy Dynamics from a garage project into a multi-million-dollar reality, fueled by relentless energy and a deeply flawed financial strategy. Lucas, always reckless with details, often bent rules, seeing them as bureaucratic hurdles rather than legal constraints. He was the one who signed off on unauthorized seed funding transfers and the aggressive, borderline fraudulent projections that kept us afloat in the early, desperate years. I knew about it. I fixed the paper trails, I smoothed over the banking alerts, always viewing it as temporary necessity, just until the big contract landed. My complicity was silent, but total. I thought my role was to protect him from himself. The fundamental truth was that I craved the success more than he did. Lucas wanted the freedom to create, I wanted the validation of wealth. I was the younger brother who had surpassed my successful older sibling in life. This company was my pedestal, my proof of worth, and I would do anything to keep it standing. The market shifted violently 6 months ago, and our aggressive strategy collapsed like a house of cards. We were hit with a demand for immediate repayment on a massive, unsecured loan that we couldn't meet. In a blind panic, attempting a desperate, last-minute fix, I crossed the final line. I rerouted funds from an escrow account, client money, to cover the debt, knowing the transfer could only be hidden for 72 hours. It was an act of cold, calculated corporate theft, done to save the whole operation. I rationalized it as borrowing. I told myself I would replace the funds before anyone noticed. The 72 hours turned into 73. A junior analyst noticed the discrepancy and filed a report. The moment Agent Reyes, 50, from the federal authorities walked into our office, the air turned to ice. The investigation was swift and brutal, focused immediately on the financial malfeasance. The beauty of my own meticulousness became my sharpest weapon. I knew the system, and I knew how to use Lucas's pre-existing, minor infractions as cover. He had already established a pattern of unauthorized transfers and fudge reports in the company's early years, all to keep the lights on, all done with my silent approval. Now, facing the catastrophic fallout from my panicked, illegal escrow transfer, I saw the perfect, terrifying solution. The funds I stole had to be accounted for. I spent 48 sleepless hours meticulously altering digital signatures and backtracking my massive illegal transfer through Lucas's old, poorly documented shell accounts. I fabricated a narrative that Lucas, in a reckless, unauthorized attempt to save the company, had orchestrated the final, massive transfer, using his established pattern of bad behavior. My professional genius for system architecture allowed me to create a ghost in the machine, a trail of negligence that led directly, and only, to Lucas. What would you do? Take the fall for your single, massive error, destroying the company and your freedom, or pin the crime on the one person whose love and trust was absolute? I thought of the years I had spent building my reputation, the future I deserved, the freedom that Lucas, in his recklessness, had never truly valued anyway. I chose myself. I chose survival. The moment of betrayal wasn't a shouting match, it was a cold, chilling silence. I was sitting in the conference room with Agent Reyes when they brought Lucas in for a secondary interrogation. Lucas, always too trusting, had fully cooperated, believing his minor early mistakes would be forgiven as youthful exuberance. When Agent Reyes laid out the evidence, the manufactured digital trail, the false transfer reports, the complete narrative I had woven, Lucas didn't look at the files. He looked at me. His eyes, usually bright with creative chaos, were empty, reflecting only pure, world-shattering confusion. There was no anger, no accusation of my specific role. It was worse than that. It was the look of a man who suddenly realized that the foundation of his entire world, his own brother, had dissolved into dust. He looked at me, Ethan, the meticulous one, the protector, and saw his executioner. His gaze didn't ask why did you do this. It simply communicated. You did this. To me, that silent question cut deeper than any legal indictment. I held the gaze for maybe 3 seconds, the longest, most agonizing 3 seconds of my life, and then I subtly looked away, focusing instead on the coffee stain on the table. My silence was my final, absolute act of betrayal. I didn't defend him, didn't correct the record, and allowed the lie to become the official, irreversible truth. He was charged with the full extent of the fraud and embezzlement. I, the brilliant co-founder who discovered and reported the malfeasance, was hailed as the ethical hero who saved the company from complete failure. I was promoted to CEO, given the keys to the kingdom I had just purchased with my brother's freedom. Lucas was sentenced to 5 years. I was sentenced to a lifetime of living with myself. I have the penthouse, the corner office, the accolades. The media calls me resilient, a corporate survivor. My life is financially flawless, but my soul is in perpetual arrears. The success I built is a towering, beautiful cage, and the bars are made of my guilt. The haunting is constant. I see Lucas's face in the crowds, I hear the phantom sound of the handcuffs in the quiet of my apartment, and every time I sign a document with my flawless signature, I remember the forged signature I pinned on him. I send massive, anonymous monthly transfers to his public defender to ensure his family is taken care of, a pathetic attempt to pay a debt that can't be settled with money. If you were in my position, living in this luxury but knowing the truth, would you find more relief in confession and ruin, or in silent atonement? The most devastating consequence is the loss of my own identity. I look in the mirror and see a successful CEO, but I know that man is an elaborate, well-funded performance. The real Ethan, the loyal brother, the man who valued family above profit, died in that conference room the moment I failed to meet Lucas's gaze. I didn't just sacrifice Lucas's freedom, I sacrificed my own soul. Lucas is serving 5 years in a physical prison. He knows what he did wrong, or at least, what they think he did wrong. His sentence is finite. My prison is infinite, gilded, and silent, and the warden is the ghost of the man I used to be. I am permanently trapped inside the skin of a traitor, watching my life unfold as a hollow monument to an unforgivable act. I survived that day, but I never truly came back alive. The biggest success of my life is my deepest, most agonizing secret. Do you think a lie this profound can ever truly be forgiven by the universe, or is the inability to move on the only real justice left? If this emotional story of ultimate betrayal, corporate corruption, and the crushing weight of hidden guilt resonated with you, please hit the like button, share this profound narrative, and subscribe to follow my haunted journey.